stakeholders, and we need to be fluid in how we're communicating this. So that would be a question for you, because we're here to help facilitate it. And let me just kind of throw that out there. We're able to help facilitate it to where we've had the Lynn family hand me the keys to their restaurant and say, here you go, use the whole restaurant, whatever you need. And I realize we're in COVID, so that also opens up the door on in-person versus Zoom. So to answer it, that is off the calendar right now and will probably be a week or two out. In regards to the survey completion, the way we came up with these dates is understanding what Monty and Aaron could actually accomplish. And that survey can be completed by the end of this month. Creative can be done within 60 days. That's not coming from me pulling out of my pocket. That's coming from these guys. So I hope that answers the question on eminent dates. And thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. I got confused. The survey is Monty's survey, not a community survey.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
survey on the land.
Got it.
And Steve, to answer the question on other meetings that involve the community, we'll run that all through the CCSD infrastructure. So we'll likely have Zoom meetings for all those public meetings that require input and community input, et cetera.
Can Aaron have meetings on his own?
Of course.
Yeah, he doesn't need the CCSD for that, does he? He can come up and get the kids together and do those things, right?
He can, but if it's deemed to be a public input event, then it should be run through CCSD. So we can publish it and invite the public ahead of time.
Okay. Okay. All right, perfect. That sounds good. Let's just make sure that the skate park people get all the information that we've got, make sure they get CC'd on all that. So there you go. That's my only statement. Any other questions on the skate park? Seeing none, let's move into the next one, which is the budget. Carlos, you got that?
I don't know that I have it, but you know, that was one item that I asked to be put on there. Obviously, CSD, we're already working on next year's fiscal budget, which kicks in July. And every year, PROS basically has a wish list of things that they would like to have funded. Over the last couple of years, the CSD board has allocated about $20,000 for some projects that PROS would like to do. So this is your opportunity. Obviously, we have a timeline that our finance manager needs to do. And basically, whatever request you have need to go to the finance committee in May. And then in June, our board basically looks at the budget and approves it. So if PROS has some items that they would like to get funded and run by the CSD board, this is the time to do it. Again, you look at your goals that you have for this year. You have 3 goals. This is where you start thinking, well, how do we accomplish those goals? And what do we need to get those accomplished? So some of your goals obviously are the community park on the East Ranch. That was one of the goals. Skate park, I think, was number 1 on your goals. And then additional funding sources was the 3rd goal that you had. So if there's things that you know you want to add, this is the time to do it. I would say, you know, if you're looking at the skate park, one of the items that is coming up is, you know, a grant writer. You know, should we put money in there for a grant writer? Maybe not just for the skate park, but for the community park as well. And we used to have Connie Davison years ago that was on staff, and she was a grant writer for the CSD. She was able to get a lot of grants, bluff trail repairs, upgrades on the ranch, and all sorts of other stuff. So, you know, to echo the fact that we need a grant writer is huge. And then whatever else, you know, the PROS Commission thinks that needs to be added, this is the time to do it.
Sorry, meeting ran long. I had to get more coffee. All right, so the grant, so the funding and the budget goes like this in my mind. Some years we don't get any money and we don't have anything. Other years they give us $20,000 and then we figure out to do with it. We've never really put a request in to say, hey, we need this money this year, because it's usually such a piddly amount that we just figure, you know what I'm saying? All right, we need 300 grand for a skate park. Well, that's not going to happen. What do you think the CCSD would like to budget no money for us, because they don't have any money anyway? And if they gave us 20 grand, we could say we'll just use it for homelessness, and then that would be all the money. But that's kind of disappointing. Kermit.
I was thinking if we wanted solid stuff on the ground, we have not ever built a picnic area or a playground area in the East Ranch. And I don't know why we haven't. So that would be one of the things I could think of, is buying tables and things for our park.
Yeah, but we can't build picnic tables until we get a bathroom down there.
Well, we do everything else without a bathroom.
Yeah, well, that's kind of why we started on the bathroom, and that's what I'm kind of saying. If we ask the CCSD for anything, it's kind of like putting the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse. But I mean, I want to ask, I want money if they want to give it to us. Carlos, how much do you think they want to budget us? 20 grand again?
You know, that's up to the board. Obviously, you know, there's a whole process that goes through. Obviously, you make a request. The general manager and finance manager will look at the request, and then if they deem that you know, it can go to the finance committee, then it'll go to the finance committee, and then the finance committee will deliberate on your request, and they will provide the CSD board with their recommendations on funding. So there's a whole process. Now, you know, years ago I wasn't asking for stuff, and you know, I was taking a lot of stuff off my list for facilities and resources, because I had the same thought as you did, is, you know, why do you ask if you know you're not going to be funded? But you know, Pablo said something really important. He was the interim general manager when we were doing the budget at that point, and he said, well, if you put it on the budget, then that means there's a record that you're asking for it. And it's on the record that you are requesting this item. Even though they don't give you the funds, at least there's paper trail that, hey, you know, this is an item that we need. It's on the radar of the board of directors. If it's not on the list, then, you know, it never existed. So again, this is for you to deliberate. As far as tables and chairs, on the community park, I would say this. So one of the things that the dog park folks were supposed to do, they were supposed to provide improvements to the dog park once we built it. Those improvements haven't materialized. Everything that we moved over from the old dog park is still there. The old benches, the old plastic lawn chairs that are breaking apart, they're all still there. So if there's chairs that need to be bought for the community park, you know, that's where you would put them is at the dog park, to make the improvements there, to provide a shelter at the dog park that was supposed to go in there a long time ago. So those are the line items. If you want to do community park improvements, we can't build trails or other things until we build the restroom, but we can improve on the dog park we already have.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Even if he bought double the amount of dog park stuff, it could sit in his yard until we get the toilet. Toilet's probably not that distant. Tables and chairs don't arrive overnight. Picnic tables pretty expensive. You get the good concrete ones with good durable finish, and they're always, a tractor picks them up and moves them around, and the benches is same. So quality stuff is expensive. Might as well buy it piecemeal and pick a design and continue with that. But you'd have them on hand if you didn't actually put them out in the field right away.
Any other questions?
Well, how do we do this now? Carlos,
Yeah.
Are you looking for a concrete proposal to come out of us right now and say, this is what we want, or are you going to just do it?
Well,
Because
what's
I
happened?
thought your suggestions were good.
Well, what's happened in the past is we haven't had this conversation at pros. And so when the general manager and finance manager and myself sit down, I look at two budgets. I look at the facilities and resources budget, and then I look at the pros budget. Well, I know what my facilities and resources budget is, but as far as the pros budget, pros hasn't really had a lot of input on it. So when we sit down, I basically come up with the plan for the pros budget. So this is a little different. This is your time to actually think and see if there's something that you need. Right off the top of what we're discussing is, well, we need to make some improvements at the dog park. So why don't we ask for 20 grand to make improvements at the dog park, including a proper watering station, some new chairs, some new benches, to make those improvements there. The other thing that we're looking at is also a grant writer. So the expenditure for grant writing is going to end, basically June 30th. So if we want to have another grant writer for next year, this is where you would ask for that budget item. How much you want to ask for that's up to pros commission.
Okay, Win. So what do we want to make a statement now? And to give you an opportunity to write things down, or what is the mechanism that we're going to proceed in? Otherwise, I'd make a proposal. We do exactly that, request funding for the board for, let's just say, 25,000 for tables, chairs, benches, water station for the dog park, for facilities for the dog park and the picnic area in East Ranch. And that would include a frost-proof, we don't need frost-proof here, I guess, a watering station that is automated by tap water. Dog just has to lick the bowl and the thing squirts up. Stuff like that is easy to do.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion was made and seconded by Joyce.
All right, so and John's got his hand up, so do I have to take a vote right now, or can there be more discussion?
I think you could have more discussion because I think you still have to hear from the public. I'm sure
Yes, okay, perfect.
I'm sure the skate park folks want to add their 2 cents to budgeting
Yeah.
for that big
Well,
project.
I'm gonna go to Mr. Weigel here first, because I got 3 cents worth I want to add too. Go ahead, Mr. Weigel.
Microphone. Can't hear.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I was more concerned about getting my hand raised sign down. So a couple of notes. First, the agenda item is just discuss the budget. That doesn't really give you a ability to vote on and consider items.
Okay.
But what I was going to suggest, I was going to first outline the budget process, which we really honed over the last couple of years. So in April is when the department heads put together their budget requests. May is reviewed by committees, and then June is approval by the board. So we're right now in the April timeframe to put together all the budget requests and to put a draft budget together. So what I would suggest in this case is individual commission members provide Steve an input of those items that you'd like to see in the budget. Steve can correlate them all and email them to me or pass them on separately, or Carl, actually, let's send them to Carlos, not me directly. Carlos can consolidate with Steve, and then we can build that into the draft budget. Does that make sense?
I like it.
It probably does to smarter people than me, so I'll defer. But yeah, I don't make a budget. I have a hard time with that.
No, all you have to do is figure out what the item is and an approximate cost.
Yeah. Adolf?
Just one question. I guess we'll have to go back and visit what we're really talking about in terms of the community park. Now, is done next, what's done after that, and so forth and so on. And what our final goal, of course, is to have what we'll call the completed community park. But in that process, I guess right now where I see is that we have a dog park, needs a shelter. We need a restroom, which is probably our biggest cost item. And beyond that, I guess, is the picnic tables. And then we talked about earlier about maybe an exercise station or whatever around the park. And finally, I guess it's recreational fields if we ever get to that point. But within the time frame we have, I guess we're really talking about the bathroom, the dog park, and possibly starting on the quote picnic tables. So maybe we need that discussion.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, my personal feeling is I'd rather spend money on kids. Grown-ups got their own money. Grown-ups use the dog park, pay for your own stuff. Why are we buying grown-up stuff? Come on, I'd rather buy kids stuff. That's my personal feeling. Anybody else? All right, I bet we have some members of the public. Let's hear from them.
Julie Amodei, go ahead.
Thank you, Osana. I guess I have a couple questions. One is in regards to the dog park, and that is when the dog park was moved, it's my understanding, and please correct me, there wasn't any community fundraising put into it. In other words, that money came from where? I'd love for you to fill in the blank on that. Because here we are out there community fundraising like crazy to get this project to work. And so I'm really struggling when I'm hearing well, another question I have is the bathrooms that got started, who's paying for those? So, and lastly, I mean, if the dog park at this point is in need of other items, why are they not privately fundraising? So I'm trying to understand why the skate park needs to come up with all of their money, but we're talking about other projects that can be potentially facilitated by a general fund. So those are my questions, and I'd love to have answers. Again, we're happy to fundraise. I just don't understand why only the skate park has to do it.
Ouch. Anybody else? All right, I would have to concur with Miss Amadei that if the dog park people want stuff, put together a group and do it. You know what I'm saying? Quit relying on government to do everything for you. All right, that'll probably come back and bite me when I run for office someday. Go ahead. All right, Osana, somebody else?
Yes, Dr. Bettenhausen, go ahead.
I want to thank you all for evidencing once again one of the major problems with the Pros Commission. And that is that your agenda is minimally written out before you meet, and you do not have concrete proposals prepared to address when you meet. And therefore, Ms. Amadei just raised some very important points. You do not have clarity as to your responsibility for the east part of the ranch and for the community park that is under development there, including, first of all, of course, the dogs, who are more important than anybody else. But I want to ask you, please, to get clarity on your authority as the Pros Commission and to exercise it so that the staff, in this case, Mr. Mendoza, doesn't have to do a lot of the policy work that you are supposed to be advising the board with. So that's my passionate request to you. How can you get your meeting set up so that you do serious deliberation about specific items, take votes, and forward a recommendation to the board, rather than simply go through this meeting after meeting after meeting? And I've been here since 2002 listening to this. Thank you.
Yeah. Ouch to that too. Joyce, help me there.
Well, I agree with Elizabeth. If we'd have known about this policy that we needed to have budget things ready, we might have been able to do it. But to just face it at a meeting doesn't really work. I mean, we're not prepared to make any suggestions. And so somehow we have the horse behind the cart already. So
Mhm. Well, if you had a better leader, but you guys keep electing me all the time.
Well, I think Joyce's point is well taken, as well as Elizabeth. We do all our work within 1 hour, or 1 or 2 hours a month. And frankly, we arrive unprepared because we're unprepared. And if we're going to have we'd probably need a work session every so often to do all this discussion, so it's not here. But that's what we do, is we save, this is our work session. We throw our dirty laundry out here because we haven't done it anywhere else. And if we're, we probably ought to have a little bit of a thrashing out, possibly 2 meetings a month instead of just one on the screen, but have a work session where we do discuss this stuff and bring up every dumb little proposal and thrash it out so that it comes out pretty cleanly on the screen. But the other one is Elizabeth gets to see the sausage being made. How glorious is that?
Yeah, and at times, we have meetings and it seems like we've gone on for months and months and not really had anything to do. We were even going bi-monthly there for a while. So yeah, when stuff comes up and real pertinent issues become part of the discussion, yeah, I feel unprepared. I don't read contracts. I don't understand budgets, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, more direct. I agree with Mrs. Bettenhausen, Dr. Bettenhausen. Osana, do you have more for us?
Yeah, I have David Pearson, and
Perfect.
David, do you wanna, he sent a comment, but David, would you like to speak right now for item 6C? If you want to. Unmute yourself, David, if you would like to speak. Okay. Then because we are discussing that item, then I'm gonna read it for him. So good morning, commissioners. I'm glad to see the Pros Commission moving along to provide the community with more recreational opportunities. You now have 2 very worthwhile and needed projects. When considering your budget alternatives, please consider that Parks and Recreation has been underfunded for years. This was due to other areas being a priority and also the lack of meaningful projects to be funded. Now that you have the need, it is time to get paid back for the years of underfunding. The water and wastewater funds benefited from loans taken from the general fund, and now is the time to pay some of that money back to the fund to fund the pros projects. I suggest the wastewater fund repay 100,000 and the water fund repay 50,000 to be budgeted for pros use in 2021-22. Neither of those funds will be crippled by this payback, and pros certainly deserves the funding. Outstanding loan obligations per the latest audit, wastewater owes 579,777, water owes 157,726.
Oh, does somebody want to comment on Mr. Pearson's assertion?
I don't
Tim?
think, that's workable, but, and especially with our legal counsel, but
It's an interesting
it's an
concept.
interesting, I say, let's think out of the box, but ratepayers cannot pay for anything other than water and sewer. They can't pay for general fund needs.
Yeah. Well, his statement about us never really being funded is there is some truth to that, right? We've never had to figure out what to do with $150,000,
Right.
which would be fun. Okay, so where are we? Somebody give us some direction.
Just one more question.
Adolf?
I noticed when Kermit talked about maybe having some working meeting, we probably should do that before the 1st of May somewhere. and really kind of thresh out what we really, really, really want money for this year. And as to how to do that, I don't know if that's another Zoom meeting or whatever.
I would
Well,
support it.
what about Elizabeth's assertion that we need more direction in the agenda? How do we fix that?
Well, we have a meeting, like Kermit said, beforehand, a work meeting, and then the agenda could be set.
Yeah,
So
at one time, when I first started, I had a monthly meeting with the vice chairman and the general manager, and we put together the agenda like that.
Right, we did.
Boy, I like that idea. I really do.
Mr.
Because
Weigel, would you like another meeting every month?
he's not with us anymore, I don't think.
No, he's here.
Nope,
But-
I'm still here. It's totally up to you and the commission.
Well, I think it would be great because really we can't have another Zoom to do something unless we have another, we notice and all that other kind of stuff due to the Browns Act. But if the chairman and the vice chair got together with the general manager to, throw out ideas and come up with hot agenda items, I think that would be very wise prior to our meeting.
Since we can't talk about establishing another meeting in this agenda because it's not noticed, I suggest that the chairman and I will chat offline and consider a special meeting.
Well, it's not an agenda meeting's not a special meeting, is it? I think that's within the bylaws or whatever, right?
Establishing talking about a special meeting on the agenda right now, is
We're not going to do that.
a violation because it wasn't noticed on the agenda.
Yeah, so we won't do that.
All right, gosh.
But the chairman and I can discuss offline.
Good.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take Dr. Bettenhausen's comment to heart and try to do better from my perspective. Joyce?
I think we've really come to the end here. Actually, I think we've done everything we can actually do. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think we have.
Yes, and we're a half an hour over. All right. Anybody else got any future agenda items? None, seeing none. All right, we're gonna close this one out. Mr. Weigel, you and I will be discussing stuff. We'll move forward. Awesome. Thanks for everybody's time. I'm sorry I'm so discombobulated. Stay safe.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.